Can sound be lethal and explode heads? Sounds a bit far-fetched. And what has it got to do with Prophet Salih and his people of Thamud?
Da 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 da.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Prophet Salih was sent to the people of Thamud around 2000 BCE to preach on the worship of Allah from the age about 16 to 120 years old. He was sent about 200 to 500 years after Prophet Hud the one we spoke in the last episode. Prophet Salih was well known among his people for his wisdom and leadership caliber. In fact, he would have climbed high up in the societal ladder if he didn't opt for the high road of prophethood. The people of Thamud is said to have migrated from Yemen to central and northern part of modern-day Saudi Arabia today. And just like people of Ad, they were geniuses at carving into mountains. Now, is the reputed Mada'in Salih is really the dwellings of the people of Thamud of Prophet Salih alayhi salam? There's much room for discussion on that topic, which I intend to cover in my next episode, inshallah. In brief, the people of Thamud challenged Prophet Salih alayhi salam to carve out an extraordinarily large and a pregnant camel at that, out of one of the rocks. With the will of Allah, miraculously there appeared a she-camel heavily pregnant just as they asked. Some were impressed and reverted to the worship of Allah, while many dismissed it as just plain sorcery. Prophet Salih warned the people of Thamud, do not harm the camel and allow her to drink from their well on alternate days. Now the camel needed plenty of water, and on days that she was drinking from the well, she drained the well. But even so, on these days that the well was drained, people were allowed to drink from her milk, which was enough to feed the entire population. It was a simple instruction: just leave the poor animal alone. Allah, with all his might and power, could have very well sent a fierce lion before them and asked them to leave it alone, which would have been a much easier thing to do. I mean, a fierce lion would be inaccessible, thus people would voluntarily stay out of his hair, right? But therein lay the test. To leave a peaceful animal alone, one that even benefited them. But the evil of men got the better of them. They slaughtered the camel on the basis that she was draining their well. Allah's wrath was unleashed upon them. On the first day, their faces turned yellow, red on second day, and consequently black by third day. They sought refuge in their homes, thought their secure houses in the mountains will protect them. By fourth day, with Allah's will, Angel Jibril let out a supersonic scream followed by a severe tremor, annihilating each and every disbelieving Thamud. They laid it like dry grass. The Arabs used to erect fences, hizar, made of dry bushes. When the grass is burnt, the wind scatters it about. Wait, what? Supersonic? Sonic basically means sound, so anything that has sonic attached to it has got something to do with sound. And supersonic scream, according to Marvel, means the power to project a destructive scream that can injure, kill, or incapacitate opponents, as well as force back or destroy objects, depending on how destructive the force of the scream is. And yes, Marvel, because supersonic scream is one of superheroes' power, and to date, no man's invention has been able to produce a supersonic scream. Okay, let's go through the basics of sound to understand how sound can be lethal. First, what is sound? Sound is basically a vibration wave that travels through medium. The medium could be air, liquid, or solid. The speed of sound in air is 1,224 kilometers per hour, depending on temperature and altitude. Mach number is relative velocity of an object to the velocity of sound in the same medium. So if Mach number equals to 1, meaning the object is moving at the sound of speed in the same medium. Above Mach 1, the object is moving at supersonic speed. Nowadays, we already have hypersonic jets with speed between Mach 5 and 10. Much research is underway into developing jets, missiles, bullets, even beyond hypersonic speed. But that is another story. There are two fundamental parameters to characterize sound. First, we have the intensity of the sound, which is measured in decibels. A whisper is around 30 decibels, normal conversation is around 60 decibels, above 80 decibels, it starts to become harmful. Sounds above 150 decibels have the potential of causing life-threatening issues. Sounds between 170 to 200 decibels become lethal as it can cause pulmonary embolisms and contusions, or even burst lungs. As for exploding heads, you can expect that from sounds above 240 decibels. Theoretically. The loudest sound recorded to date is the eruption of Mount of Krakatoa in 1883. People in Batavia, modern-day Jakarta, about 160 kilometers away, measured intensity of 180 decibels. That is like standing next to a rocket launch. Sailors within 64 kilometers radius had their eardrums ruptured. The sound at the center of the detonation was calculated to be a staggering 310 decibels. I wonder how loud was Jibril alayhi salam's scream. Then we have frequency. The standard one is measured in hertz and refers to the number of vibrations in a second. Fortunately, humans can only hear sounds between 20 and 20,000 hertz. Whatever below 20 hertz is termed as infrasound, and whatever above 20,000 hertz is termed ultrasound. Infrasound can cause erratic breathing, blurred vision, joint issues, nausea. 7 Hz is the frequency of the brain and internal organ, and as a result of resonance, any sound at the same frequency can affect the central nervous system, causing general confusions, anxiety and panic, organ rupture, and prolonged exposure can even lead to death. Check out my video on law of attraction to understand resonance better. A phenomenon called wind turbine syndrome, coined by Dr. Nina Pierpont, reported that people who live in the proximity of wind turbine to have adverse health effects. In 2021, a French couple who lived 700 meters from 7 wind turbines took it to the court and claimed they experienced a range of health problems including headaches, insomnia, heart irregularities, depressions, dizziness, tinnitus, and nausea for more than 2 years. The couple was awarded more than 100,000 euros in compensation by the judge in Toulouse. The legal requirement of minimum distance between wind turbines and residential buildings in France is 500 meters. Although mainstream media sidelines reported cases of the syndrome and labeling them as pseudoscience primarily because there hasn't been any substantial study done into addressing these issues. Dr. Nina herself published papers on the matter, but it was not well received. The reluctance might be due to the fact that admitting there is a problem would lose the industry billions. The wind energy market is expected to reach $129.12 billion by 2027 at a compound annual growth rate of 9.3%. And the wind energy has become cheaper than fossil fuel over the years. Also, that renewable energy is environmentally friendly. In the 1960s, a French acoustician, Vladimir Gavreau of the Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique in Marseille, and his lab assistants experienced supernatural encounters. Their eardrums periodically compressed, everything vibrated. Tables, glasswares on tables, liquids on vessels, creating curious patterns. Needle on barometers oscillated, but no sound. Being an acoustician, he investigated and found out that in fact it was a giant ventilation system that was just installed in the neighboring building. The defective machine was emitting a frequency of 7 Hz, which was amplified by the air vent, which caused the irregular occurrences. Consequently, he focused his efforts into researching infrasound till he died in 1967. Though he did not succeed in producing an effective sonic weapon, but his claims sparked decades of interest and research into developing sonic weapons. The big players, US, China, Russia, all concentrate substantial resources in this area. possibility of a silent, invisible, deadly killer is just too tempting. I won't indulge into the details here, but if you guys are interested, read more the book by Juliet Vauclair called Extremely Loud. One notable modern sonic weapon was the long-range acoustic device deployed by the United States military during the Iraq War and reportedly was capable of blasting sound waves approaching 150 decibels. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention CDC, that's like the sound of a firecracker capable of damaging ears and causing pain. Hold your horses before you get too excited or scared. On the prospect of an impactful sonic weapon, there are actually two major challenges that are hindering the development of sonic weapons at the moment. First, it's difficult for the user to converge and maintain target as sound quickly disperses in the air. Second, it might actually be really hard to use sound to kill anybody. Different parts of our body resonate at different frequencies. So let's say you pick the frequency that the skull vibrates. Well, the skull isn't just the skull. It's packed in with soft, squishy stuff like brains, skin, connective tissues, and blood. Those things will all suck up the resonant frequencies before any real damage can happen. But perhaps it's just a matter of time before man overcomes these challenges and creates another destructive invention as the likes of nuclear bomb, if Allah wills it to test mankind. In any case, the science checks out. Sound with the subsequent shock waves can really kill, and it was recorded in the Quran 1400 years ago. And Jibril alayhi salam, he is quite a superhero. If you guys haven't already watched the series by Omar Sulaiman on Jibril alayhi salam's seerah, then I highly recommend you guys to watch it. After watching the series, Jibril alayhi salam was no longer just an angel messenger, but he has a beautiful personality that you can fall in love with. Prophet Salih alayhi salam